Hello, everyone. My name is Vince Aguirre. I'm the president of Distinct and one of the hosts of the Small Business Squad podcast. Unfortunately, Ken is not with us today. He says his internet's not working. I'm wondering if he paid the bill. I don't know. We'll have to update you in the future of what happened there, but I'm sure he'll be in the chat. Today, we have a good friend of ours, Susan Lormer, who is the CEO of Fun at Big Boss Funhouse Rentals. And we're going to be talking with her about the responsibility of a business owner during uncertain times. It's been uncertain times for a while now, and some people still feel, as we look towards the future, what does the future look like? It feels uncertain to a lot of people. So our hope is to talk with Susan about some of her experiences, help all of you listening learn from the things that she's learned, and honestly, just have a good conversation with Susan, who I always enjoy talking to. So I'm going to bring Susan on for a minute, let her introduce herself, and then I'll jump in with some of our questions that we have. Hey, Susan.
Hi, Vince. Good to see you.
Good to
As
see you. Always is a good time.
it is.
Susan,
So,
I'd love for you to tell everyone your background and kind of who you are, what you've done. We want to keep this about 30 minutes, so maybe skip some of the parts, but, just talk about your experiences and what led you here to this call today.
I'll go through the cliff notes. How's that?
Sounds great.
I am Susan Lormer. My husband and I, Andy, have Big Bounce Funhouse Rentals. We're located in Greencastle, Indiana, but we travel all over, and you'll start to see this maybe during the conversation. But the biggest question that I get is, how did we come about, and how did we start? The short answer of everything was it was a birthday party that we were doing ourselves. So I'd had a little bit of experience with inflatables in a management company, and my husband was getting ready to have a birthday party, and I said, you know what, let's rent a bounce house. At that time we were homeschooling our children, and we were running our tree service full time. And when we went to go try to rent a bounce house, it was just hard to find one. And I had told him, hey, I have a little bit of experience. Why don't we see about buying one bounce house? And he says, why don't we see about buying two bounce houses? So that's where we started, hence the name Big Bounce Fun House Rentals. Um, wow, if I had the vision to go back and see then what we know now, it's just so much more than bounce houses. And you'll see as we go through the conversation. And Vince, you've been there a lot with me too,
Yeah,
building up and with the company. So we'll chat about that later. But that's how we came to be, and we just grew and grew and learned more and do more.
yeah,
And here we are today with kind of that C word COVID in the middle that we're going to be talking about today as well.
absolutely. It's such a dirty word now, right?
Right? Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't be doing my job as a supporter of your business if I didn't mention that, like you said, it's so much more than bounce houses, including mobile axe throwing rentals
Right.
and ice skating rinks that don't need ice. So
That's
I'll
right.
give you an opportunity later to plug those some more. But if anyone's watching this, like, I don't need a big bounce, big bounce house rental. Well, you might need a mobile axe trailer or an ice skating rink without ice. So let's jump in. Let's ask some of these questions about your experience in uncertain times, and specifically, do you remember where you were, what you were doing when you heard that the shutdown was coming from COVID?
For sure. So everyone remembers those monumental moments, right? Where they were
Mhm.
some part of history. And for us, we don't take a whole lot of vacations when we travel. It is usually work related. But yeah, we were on spring break, and we were off in a little island and overseas, and heard that everything was shutting down. So we were on a cruise, to answer your question, and it was, we're at sea. How are we going to get back? Are we going to be stuck here on this boat?
Yeah.
What's going to happen? And our office gals at the time, they had tried to keep quiet because they didn't want to run our time while we were away from the office. But of course, being who I am, I got some Wi-Fi, and I text, "How is everything?" And they couldn't hold back because our phones were blowing up. People were canceling left and right. Everything that we had on the books and on the schedules just cancel, 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 cancel. So
Yeah.
they did break the news to me, and I was still a little bit uncertain. And we had like 3 days left till our cruise was over. And yes, the announcements started coming on the boat and what was going on back here and what was happening. And it was just all so like, uncertain was the word
Yeah.
for sure. Are we going to get off the boat? What's it going to look like when we get back home and get to business? And um,
Yeah.
we'll talk a little bit later what that looked like, but it was okay, game on. We need to figure out how we're going to go forward in what we do because, right, we are gatherings of people. So that
Hmm.
was a very difficult decision to go forward. And what do we do?
Absolutely. I actually I think you were one of my last meetings before the shutdown. I remember you were getting ready for the cruise and we kind of talked about like who knows what this thing's going to do. Like what how big of a deal is this going to be? And we just kind of talked through all of that and a couple days later it's like, "Oh shoot, okay. Yeah. This
Fam-
this is a this is a big deal." I remember that vividly. Um Okay, so as you were navigating this, right? You're on the cruise, you hear about the shutdown, you're kind of stuck there, and then you get back. What leadership traits have kind of supported you? What skills supported you during that time? Your experiences.
So the biggest thing on my mind when this happened was Easter was coming up. Easter for us is a huge time, right? It's a holiday and people get together, and you have the Easter Bunny out there. So it was definitely what are we going to do? We had many jobs lined up where our Easter Bunny, Fritz is his name, he was going to be visiting children in pictures. So the first thing that we did was leadership wise is we had to have creativity and be flexible. And we figured out, Vince, probably within a week to go and do virtual online visits with the Easter Bunny. Uh,
Hmm.
Transformed into Easter Bunny Studios. I called it EB Studios. And we just said, how can we do this? How can we still get the kids to visit with the Easter Bunny?
Yeah,
And through technology, we were able to bring the kids in, visit with the Easter Bunny, and still get a picture with the Easter Bunny, and that was the best. We were able to Photoshop and bring the kids in with the Easter Bunny. We had so many people reach out and thank us, and actually tell us that that was the best experience. They didn't have to wait in the lines.
yeah,
We had kids all over from in their pajamas to their Easter best, and people just really invited us and Fritz into their home, and
yeah,
it was a huge time for us. I know Vince, you were monumental in that too, helping us get the word out. And we sold our tickets online, and you and I have been friends for a while, and I think that you've always heard me say, "Go, go, go! Let's do this. Let's do that." I think that was
yeah.
probably the first time you ever heard me pick up the phone and say, "I can't do
There
anymore."
were too
We
many.
we were working around the clock,
Yeah,
pretty much. We were starting Easter calls with the bunny around 8 a.m. We were finishing our last calls between 9 and 9:30,
hmm,
and all over the world, we were calling. And, at 9:30, then it was my time to schedule the other calls, send out the emails, let them get a
yeah,
window when Fritz was gonna be calling and talking to them. It was little sleep during that
yeah.
time, but we pulled together and we did it.
Yeah, no, you did, and I have to say, we work I don't know how many clients we were working with then, but now we work with about 90 clients in a given month, and you were the first of our clients to implement some kind of change, right? Like, everyone adapted their business. We work with Myers Market, and they started doing meat pickup. We work with all kinds of businesses that did all the different things, but you were just the quickest to get to it, and, it was really cool to see that pivot in a time where I'm sure you were completely freaking out. Everyone else had some line of business still, but you were just like, events are canceled, and you just got to it, and that was awesome to see.
For sure. We even from the Easter Bunny, of course, we went on to Santa,
Mhm.
just that way again, for that year. But post proms were coming up too, right? So
Yeah,
you're in
yeah.
March and April area. A lot of the post proms canceled, but for those that I could reach out to, we still were able to do a few. And the way that we did that, again with technology, we did virtual caricature drawings, we did
Mm,
trivia, we did bingo. We gave out prizes for bingo, and they drove their cars and would drive up, and we would hand them their bag and their prize that they won online
yeah,
through a drive-through kind of per se. So yeah, it was a whole lot of adaptability and creativity of how are we going to do this? Like you
yeah.
said, most businesses had some sort of way of adapting, right? The hours, the time, drive-throughs.
Mhm.
It was not the case for us. So we had to reach out to these people and say, "Hey, we're working on it. What do you think of this idea?" So
Yeah.
out of 100%, we probably crept along at 10% trying
Mm,
to get some, but we definitely lost the employees, and we can talk about that later of building back where we are today, um, and how to do that. But yeah, it was a shock. It
yeah.
was devastating is the word.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm going to take a quick pause before we go on to the next question and just kind of promote this podcast to anyone watching. This podcast is a part of the Small Business Squad, and the Small Business Squad is many things, but one of the things it is most impactful is a Facebook group. So we have a Facebook group member, Justin Campbell, who's tuning in. He says, "Hey, all." We want to say hi back to Justin. If you are watching this and you're a small business owner, small business supporter, you can join the Facebook group by searching for Small Business Squad on Facebook, or you can go to meetthesquad.com to find different ways to engage. And if you're watching this from the Facebook group, unfortunately, we do not see your comments. So find our stream on another platform to leave any comments. Um, all right, I'm going to put the chat overlay. No, I'm not. I don't like that. Let's go ahead on to the next question then, Susan.
Sure.
Um, where are we? So, what you've been through this now. 3 years ago, this all happened. It doesn't. It's crazy to think about that. Um, what insights do you have today that you didn't have before COVID?
Yeah, that's a great question. So it did make me reevaluate our business for sure.
Mm,
Um, we have grown so much from the backyard events, which I mean we still do a ton of, but we were mostly corporate.
mhm.
That means churches and towns and festivals. So when COVID hit, with all of that being shut down, it was more converting back to okay, now we are only focusing on these what we call backyard events, so single family
Yeah.
events. And our marketing has always been corporate, corporate, corporate. Now
Mhm.
we're pulling back and saying our marketing is different. We need to change directions on what we're going to do, and we most certainly did. By that, what I mean is we used to do a few tents, tables, chairs. That's what people wanted during that time. They
Yeah.
were doing their business, or their parties in their own yard. So we had to take our business, and where a lot of companies like ours were selling out or not able to withstand the overhead, we just really rolled the dice and doubled down on what
Yeah.
we knew we were getting calls for, and that was purchasing at that time some tents. That's We had always thought about doing LED movie screens, and had thought about that for a while. But when COVID hit and businesses were starting to call and say, "Hey, we can't have company parties, or we need to cancel the company party that we had," I had
Mhm.
quick to pitch, "Hey, why don't we do a drive-in?" And although we've been doing the inflatable movie screens for a while, the LED led us into something totally different, where we
Yeah.
could do it during the daytime as well. And unfortunately, with COVID came many deaths, and people were not able to go to the funeral homes. and meet and mourn during that time. So we came up with a way to show the funeral in on these LED screens in parking lots, and people were able to stay in their car and mourn a loved one or see the celebration of life. So it was reaching out to, you know, funeral
Yeah.
homes, it was reaching out to schools um, to do graduations like that. So to get back to your question, the insight, I never saw us focusing so much on that or going forward into getting those items, or like I said earlier, rolling the dice to is it going to work or not. We were just
Mhm.
trying to stay afloat and stay with what the demands and what people needed. So now today, it's kind of led us into a different stream and path. We're doing what we've always done, but we're getting more and more calls, even still today, for these LED screens and different things. People have kind of adapted to
Yeah.
what was going on, and a lot of them haven't changed. They're still
Yeah.
wanting to do some of these events. It was a different way of doing events
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, and I bet if I would have told you, in 2019 that you'll be doing LED funerals next year, you would have thought I was crazy.
for sure.
Absolutely.
What, yeah, what are you talking about? How would that even work? But
Yeah.
yeah, when it's sink or swim, you're gonna try to swim and figure it all out, and that's
Yeah.
definitely what my husband and I did. Sit down, okay, where are we going and what are we gonna do?
Yeah. And I think again, it just another way you yes, you were trying to survive, but you also were meeting the need, right? Like
Oh,
people
absolutely,
people couldn't meet with the Easter Bunny, you solved that. People couldn't mourn together, you solved that. And I think, those things come out of trying times where you find solutions to problems that sometimes aren't even problems ahead of that, right?
absolutely.
Um,
We actually did one graduation stands out in my mind where we had 7 different inflatable movie screens all blown up at the same time that for a graduation ceremony. So they brought in the cars, and it was
oh wow.
actually the venue was at Conner Prairie, so nice big open area, and we showed a graduation at the same time on all of the screens, and the kids, said their name and got their diploma. But yeah, would anyone ever thought that for their graduation? Not at
Yeah.
all.
No, for sure. Wow. Um, so when it comes to the customer, the consumer, have you seen a change in the way that your customers or even people who don't become customers but inquire, the way they're engaging with you?
You know, we have, and I would say that people are more understanding,
Mm,
a little bit more laid back,
mm,
and just overall understanding is a good word. With us, and I kind of talked about this earlier. We lost so many employees, even some family members that were employees who needed to go do something else. Totally
yeah,
understand. And I had already said, not all companies survive this. They either retired early, sold out. We
yeah,
saw so many companies pop up because, other companies were for sale, and these new people are saying, hey, I can go and do this, but
mhm,
that's a whole other topic. They're not sure whatever. What I'm saying is it just all fell back to our clients trying to get a hold of us and going to do jobs. So with that being said, the whole understanding part, we are doing as much as we were pre-COVID, but with a lot of new staff.
mhm,
And a lot of the old staff did come back too, but we may need to deliver early. We may need to pick up late, and those customers are more understanding. Oh, my party's from 11 to 2, and us saying, we're coming out the night before, or we're picking up late
yeah,
that night because that's when you have the staff. That's when you have the vehicles. And whereas prior, if we would needed to do that, we might have got a few grouchy. That doesn't
yeah,
make sense. Why are you guys doing that? Pretty much everyone now is, oh, We got you. Yep. No problem.
Yeah.
The other thing that's happening, and this isn't a surprise to anyone and everyone, that regardless of what business you're in, you're feeling this crunch. But insurance going up, fuel going up,
Hmm.
labor going up. It's just hit. And unfortunately, you have to pass that on, or we wouldn't stay in business. And that's something that we've been able to pride ourselves that we've tried to keep our costs low, low, low. Uh,
Hmm.
where we still make a profit and can still do what we need to do. But now it's like, okay, there is an increase. We have to pass that on,
Yeah.
so we stay in business and we're still able to bring the fun to parties and get the party started, right?
Yeah.
And for the most part, people are very understanding of that too. Locally here in Greencastle, we used to have free delivery. Now there's a very minimal charge, but
Mm.
there has to be a charge,
Yeah.
for fuel. It's totally different now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just all of those, additional stressors, right? After we're out of the woods, and then all these new things are coming on, and just having to continue to adapt. I will say I am happy to hear that for the most part, your customers are, more understanding and treating you well. I know so many industries where it's kind of not the case right now. I know food service, seems to be everyone's complaining about food, even though they know how much of a hard time that restaurants are going through. So, I'm glad that you're not seeing that on your end.
Yeah, usually for the most part, we get a lot of smiles, and people are excited to see, right? We
Yeah,
bring the party, so they're ready for us for sure.
yeah, that's awesome. So throughout all these changes, what roles did technology play in, all of your adaptations?
Yeah, so I think we kind of touched on it earlier. It was
Mhm.
definitely, you know, Zoom. Um, that was huge for us. Like I said, we even did live virtual caricature drawings.
Mm.
So people would sit down, we would put our cameras and be able to look at them, draw it
Yeah.
out, let them see as we're drawing, and then email the picture to them.
Yeah.
So, that just having that technology, and to be able to do that is absolutely amazing. Who would have thought you would do a DJ dance party? You know, virtually, it's one person in a room and you see all these students. But yeah, we actually did some proms like that where the kids dressed up and maybe one or two couples went over to each other's houses, and we had all these houses, and yeah, they were dancing in their living room.
Oh, wow.
So without technology, and the
Yeah.
platforms, that's you wouldn't have been able to do that. Kahoot was another big one for us that allowed us to do, the bingo and the
Mhm.
trivia and the other platforms that we were able to offer during that time. So, and everyone knows, just the Zoom meetings to be able to meet with your associates and your vendors and
Yeah.
talk about these times and give advice. What are you doing? Those roundtables were a very good idea and a way to connect with your peers that's going through the same thing as
Yeah.
you are. Maybe they have different ideas that you didn't think of, and vice versa. They were happy to hear, oh, yes, we could do that too. So
Yeah.
that happened very much so.
Yeah. That's, you mentioned, connecting with vendors and whatnot. That was a big change I saw in what I do. Is before COVID, it was always assumed if we had a meeting scheduled, it was in person,
Right.
and I feel like now it's always assumed that it's not in person, which is it's just such a bizarre change from what, before and after. Um, I did pop it up on the screen earlier, but I'll show it again. Ken is watching, and he says, "Great information, Susan." He thanks you.
And sorry you couldn't be with us.
We'll have to do it again sometime soon. Um, so you've mentioned this in a lot of these questions, but I want to give you an opportunity to talk, more in depth, if you'd like, about changes to your cost structure and what you've had to do to adapt, your cost structure, both for inflation and all these extra costs, but, really in just reevaluating your cost if anything's, kind of risen to the top and forced you to change the way you do things.
Right, and thank you for that. Yes, whenever someone calls us up and asks us to do a job, we have our base prices, right?
Yeah.
That we know of what our cost is for doing that job. And I try to take every job and do that analysis, especially when it's big jobs and traveling. One of the hardest things is as a business owner is all the requests that we get,
Mhm.
right? Especially in our line of business. Everyone has, a nonprofit. They're supporting Susie or Johnny, and oh gosh, you have heartstrings, and it tugs you, and you want
Yeah.
to be able to do everything, but it's really made us pare down more of okay, this is our focus, and we want to be able to help everyone, and here you go, we can do this for your silent auction or not, but um, it's really hard to answer all those calls and
Mhm.
or we wouldn't be in business. So yeah, unfortunately, it's made us look harder as to what we can do and what we can't. If I can plug Second Saturdays is a great way, along with
Yeah.
Green Council Presbyterian Church. We are out there. That's a total free event. We love to give back to the community, and thanks for the support. But yeah, unfortunately, with the prices going up and the insurance going up, that was the biggest thing. And not to be down on insurance companies, I understand they were, especially in our industry, those insurance companies, they were picking up the phones and people were canceling their policies
Wow.
altogether. So, we didn't feel that we could do that by any means because, right, we're hopeful that we're going to
Yeah.
out there. This was going to pass soon. So those insurance premiums didn't go down any. We
Mm.
still owe just as much uh, on there. So that was hard too, a part of keeping the doors open and the business to be there. So yeah, just overall, the cost of doing business and staying afloat was a
Yeah.
very difficult thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I couldn't even. Yeah. Insurance companies must have been in an interesting position, and everyone making those decisions, right?
That's right. Yeah, that
Like,
they would be a very good one to talk to too. What happened with insurance and people during that time.
that's a great point. If anyone watching is in insurance for business or knows someone, put them in touch.
I'm sure they
Uh,
have their own story.
yeah, that'd be really fun to explore.
During all this time with COVID, and I would talk to people, or I would do live podcast of where we are and what's going on with Facebook Live. I had so many people that would come up to me and say, "We didn't even think about that with you." It's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, yeah, yeah, sure." They had their own problems too. Everyone was
Mhm.
just trying to survive.
Yeah.
You know, with a shutdown, and how do you do that?
Yeah. I'd say, kind of to that point of like everyone's problems. I think being a digital service company, we had it better than most people, but our selling point is our unlimited website support.
Right.
So when all of our clients at the exact same time all need to adapt their website, it was wild for us because we don't
Oh,
charge anything extra for that. We're just part of our service.
I bet.
But I think it strengthened our ties with a lot of our clients. So in the long run, it worked out well. But I'll tell you what, quarantine was just me sitting in front of a computer, just typing all day, just trying to adapt.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I mean, everyone had something, right?
It
Um,
it was crazy. We did some of those outdoor movies, and when I would go and talk to those vendors, they would come out, and some of them are saying, for instance, we did a job where the company made plastics and
mm,
styrofoam, right? A lot of to go food. And
mm,
they were working around the clock and just saying they couldn't keep up with the demand.
yeah,
It's like, there's some companies that it went they couldn't keep up, and other companies that it just stalled down and reinvent the wheel.
yep, absolutely. Um, so how are you leading your business different today in today's environment?
That's a great question. I would say mostly we're going towards these LED screens,
Mm,
which we didn't think that we would be. The ice skating rink is coming right up again for, it is anytime ice skating, but most people want it during the winter.
yeah.
In fact, we are installing a rink today. I will say that it's September,
Nice.
installing a rink today, so that is nice. Um, but yeah, I think that it's leading us to a different vision.
Mm,
Not that we're stopping doing anything that we've always done before. I'm not saying that we're not going anywhere, um, but it's definitely opened up our eyes to where do we need to go. We are getting calls to travel all over. Um, not too long ago, we did an event with an LED screen that we had Willie Nelson and Miranda Lambert and Tim
wow.
McGraw on our screens up there by the stage, and that's really cool. That's really cool.
Yeah.
We did another event for the Olympics, the flying disc Olympics, and it's just I didn't see us going there. Right? We
Right.
do bounce houses, but so many different things, and traveling the escape room that we have. Colleges are loving it.
Yeah.
People think of going elsewhere to throw axes or to do a mobile escape room, and give us a call. We'll bring your group in here, and you have a private party. So it's getting the word out for those things, and it's more of the bigger attractions that I think that I see the future leading for us.
Yeah. We're growing our team at Distinct, and I think the escape room might be a good team building exercise. So let's talk about that offline.
Absolutely.
I didn't even think about that until right now, but we have a big local presence now. All right.
For
We'll
sure.
demo it. I'll record the whole thing and we'll make a little promo video too.
You
That'd
know
be fun.
what? Be onto something.
Yeah, we'll do that. Um, so the last formal question I have, and then I want to give you an opportunity just to pitch anything you'd like, but I really want you to, take a breath, look straight in the camera, and give some advice to other business owners, with a particular focus on maybe people who are, you know, in your shoes where you were 10 years ago, right? Maybe, um, not as experienced and kind of learning the ropes.
Slow and steady.
Hmm.
Slow and steady. Don't completely jump in. It's a race, right? Um, the other thing, my husband and I talk about this all the time. You want to do what you love with who you love, and you do it well, and you do it with integrity, and you're fair, you're honest, and you're friends with your clients. They feel like they can call you up, whether they want to throw a party or tell you about their day, and that
Yeah.
happens. That happens, and that's really really cool. Those relationships that you build along the way. So take time,
Yeah.
learn the people. The business is just a business, and
Yeah.
it's a good part, but take time to do the work that you enjoy with who you enjoy, and get to learn about the people that you're working with.
Yeah. I love that. So I'm going to prompt the audience. This is now is the last chance to ask a question. And while you are typing your questions, Susan, I'm going to let you, make your pitch, your elevator pitch of who you are, what you do, why people should work with you, and whatever your heart desires.
Well, thank you. I would just say, give us a call. So many times people, oh, I didn't know that you did that, or oh, we're wanting such and such item. You probably don't have that. You'd be surprised. When our kids were in public school and they would come home off the bus. There were many times that there would be animals in our house. Santa would be here, clowns would be here, stilt walkers. I mean, you just never really knew what they're going to come home to. So um, give us a call. Give us a call. You don't see it on the website, doesn't mean that we don't have it or can't get it. Right now, the big thing, all the kids are just going back to school. All these committees are forming together now, trying to fundraise for post proms at the end of the year. By working with us now, we can help you fundraise. we can secure your date. Just give us a call.
Yeah.
1-866 jump 2 JUMPTOO.
There it is.
There it is.
Awesome. Well, Susan, I appreciate your time. We'll have to do this again with Ken.
All right.
I'm sure there's some questions I missed that he would have liked me to ask. But I really appreciate you being here, and hope to see you engaging in the Small Business Squad Facebook group.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Vince. It's always
Yeah,
great talking to you. And thank
thank
you for
you.
your help there at Distinct.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Well, thank you all for joining. Uh, in 2 weeks, on August 31st, we're going to be having another podcast. The topic will be self-management, mental health, and leading from the top. Anyone who's involved with the Small Business Squad Facebook group will recognize CJ is going to be our guest. If you don't know CJ yet, you have to tune in because she's an incredible talent and just a joy to be with. I was with her a couple days ago getting coffee, and just it's going to be a fantastic experience. So once again, my name is Vince Aguirre. I am the president of Distinct. Distinct builds affordable and high quality websites with unlimited support for busy leaders. And you can learn more about us at becomedistinct.com. To learn more about the Small Business Squad, you can go to meetthesquad.com.